Howdy, and welcome to Crunchy News. It's the news the way I tell it. Today, I've been seeing a lot of things in the news, and just wanted to pick through some of the things I thought were the most important. There's no way I could cover everything that's significant in the news today, but I will point out some things that I think that I should be bringing to your attention and things that you can learn from. All right, Fox News is reporting that police in Florida suburb make millions from drug bust sting operations, a report finds. And this only shows the small-scale government drug dealing and does not go nowhere near far enough. About the C-130 Hercules that fly in the drugs. You mean Pablo has military aircraft and police protection? Nope. Try HSBC and other international bankers. They are the military-industrial complex that President Eisenhower warned us about. Go check out his final speech again, and you'll see it in there. They are taking over. Oh, I love this one. So France 24 is reporting mainstream baffled as French turns to far right. Basically, France is a completely socialist country right now, but the effects of socialism are showing their face, and the people are turning to the opposite ideology for the cure. The revolution is global, and we're starting to understand collectivism is the root of our problems. It's when we take our power away from ourselves and give them to somebody else to redistribute. We put a middleman in between us and what we can actually do for somebody, and there are people who make money off of that. This is an important story that no one is talking about. Michael Carey, Air Force general in charge of nuclear missiles, fired. He was over all the nuclear missiles, and he's not the only general who's being fired. There are some other ones, but normally they'll have a press release about these kind of things, but they were trying to keep hush for a while. This press release just came out about a week ago, not even that long ago. But we'll get to that in a second. Let me give you a quick history lesson first. Hitler firebombed his own Reichstag and blamed it on the communists. You know, his political opposition. That's the equivalent to Obama attacking the congressional buildings and blaming it on the Tea Party. Can you see how much they use derogatory words and go after, just in a nasty way, people who don't go along with the status quo? I mean, really, we just have different ideologies. We're not, haters. Now, InfoWars first broke this news. Exclusive. High-level source confirms a secret U.S. nuclear warhead transfer, and that was on September 3rd. The source was saying they were doing it without the proper paperwork, and it was a very, very shady thing. It was very alarming, and so he came out to Alex Jones and he blew the whistle on it. And in an even further twisted turn of events, later on that day, after that was broke, and I'll show you this article from The Blaze. Lindsey Graham implies failure to strike Syria may result in U.S. getting nuked. The same day. I mean, I take that as a threat. A nuke comes up missing. You're going to tell us we're going to get nuked if we don't go along with your political plans? That's extortion. That's political terrorism right there. And what is he doing with that type of knowledge? I mean, what does he have to do with this? How does he fit into this puzzle? But let's hope that them breaking that actually stopped them from using it. Maybe, he did back off his rhetoric a little bit. Well, Fox News. U.S. Army defines Christian ministry as domestic hate group. Domestic hate group. This is coming out of Camp Shelby in Mississippi, where a soldier just couldn't go on without letting it out. This is how the Southern Poverty Law Center, the SPLC, labels Christians. It's not okay to label your ideological opposite in such a manner that subjects them to the force of the state. It is obvious. At that point, they have lost the ideological battle. And guess what? They are global bank-funded group as well. Are you starting to see the bigger picture yet? When the debate is lost, slander becomes the tool of the loser. Socrates. Here are some quotes from the story. Several dozen U.S. Army active duty and reserve troops were told last week that the American Family Association, AFA, as a well respected Christian ministry, should be classified as a domestic hate group because the group advocates for traditional family values. The briefing was held at Camp Shelby in Mississippi and listed the AFA alongside domestic hate groups such as the Ku Klux Klan, the neo-Nazis, and the Black Panthers. Oh yeah, and the Nation of Islam. Quote, I had to show Americans that our soldiers are now what our soldiers are now being taught, said a soldier who asked not to be identified. I couldn't just let this one pass. The soldier said a chaplain interrupted the briefing and challenged the instruction's assertion that the AFA was a hate group. I encourage you to go and read this article. I left a link of it in the description. Welcome to Collapse News. This will keep you updated on the designed fall of the economy. How about this headline right after the EBT card debacle? Many veterans stopped receiving disability checks due to the government shutdown. Wow, can you believe it? This is just dangling people's hard-earned money over their heads for political gain. I mean, it's starting to get bad now. Quote, the American Republic will endure until politicians realize they can bribe the people with their own money. InfoWars is reporting the IMF bank boss. Fate of the world at stake unless Americans agree to take on more debt. Now, here are banks I was talking about earlier. They own us, and they're pretty much going to make it as hard as they can on us if we don't accept more debt. So we have to be their engine.
If there is no quick resolution of both the debt ceiling issue, which is far worse than the other one, and the government shutdown, that will be very negative consequences for the US economy and spillover effects, which means negative consequences as well for the rest of the world.
We don't need them. We don't. This next article says the Global Research is reporting China calls for a new reserve currency and a new world order. China and other countries are sick and tired of the Anglo-American empire, and they want to move on to a new monetary paradigm. This is not necessarily the same new world order that Bush Sr. and Joe Biden are calling for. Other countries are dumping the dollar in bilateral trade, and the dollar is on the way out as the world's reserve currency. In this dollar Ponzi scheme, that means death to the dollar. I mean, think about that. It's a Ponzi scheme. A bunch of people are about to stop using it, so the investments are not going out anymore. It's about to hit home pretty hard.
Of its founders.
We have before us the opportunity to forge for ourselves and for future generations a new world order, a world where the rule of law, not the law of the jungle, governs the conduct of nations. When we are successful, and we will be, we have a real chance at this new world order, an order in which a credible United Nations can use its peacekeeping role to fulfill the promise and vision of the UN's founders.
The affirmative task we have now is to actually create a new world order, because the global order is changing again.
CBS DC. And look at this ridiculous mainstream media headline. Not raising the debt ceiling will create a new Republican default tax. Here we go. I mean, just believing this rhetoric is not for the informed person. What bothers me is that this sends a message to the international economic community. I mean, obviously they're trying to trash our reputation. Also, the reality is that a bipartisan effort in the House to pass funding legislation has been successful. I mean, it would probably pass in the Senate too. I mean, the legislation is there. It's Democrats and Republicans want to fund the government, but Harry Reid will not let them get voted on. They're just sitting on his desk, and he's saying, listen, you have to fund everything all at the same time in an untraditional way by passing one spending bill instead of a bunch of different spending bills. Give it to us like that, or we're not going to pass anything. And then at the same time, using rhetoric and calling Tea Parties a lot of derogatory type terms, but I mean, really, they're blaming Republicans, calling it a Tea Party shutdown and all this, and all Harry Reid has to do is bring those bills up for vote, and the whole government gets funded. Except for maybe Obamacare, but then everything else is funded. Now, I want to make some final points here. Let's take a step back and analyze what we're seeing today. The dollar has lost confidence in the international community, and our wars are not working as economic policy anymore. The elite's power comes from the power of the dollar. When that is gone, they will see a dramatic decrease in their influence. And they know this. The federal government is unsustainable, and their power reaches through those branches. And when it's not there anymore, it's going to be very splintered. They are the most paranoid people you have ever seen. I mean, you see the DHS buying enough ammo to wage a 7-year war in Afghanistan. You see the further militarization and federalization of our police officers. I mean, you see them attack us with GMOs, fluoride in the water, dirty vaccines. I mean, look, amount of mental illness and obesity we have in our country. That is done intentionally. And we're all waking up still. It's not working. They have overplayed their cards, and the New World Order is about to fall. With the banksters off our backs, we will be able to build the real America, the way freedom was meant to be enjoyed. This time around, though, we have the technology and the information to be aware enough to be totally free. Things will get better, my friends. When you are aware, you will prepare. Until then, listen in. Now I'll leave you with another great reason to get crunk.